everyone, good evening from Valencia. We have had all 3 days of the pre-season test ahead of the 2022 FIA Formula E World Championship. Everything that they can do before Diriyah has now been done. We're going to speak about all 11 teams, right from the other end of the pit lane where Neo is, all the way down to Mercedes EQ. Just here, you probably still won't be able to see, I've angled the camera horribly wrong, but we'll talk about all the teams, how they performed this week and what to expect when we head to Diriyah. Right, so let's kick things off with Neo 333. Annoyingly for them, it's looking like it's going to be the same as last year. I don't think it'll be as bad as what they had in Season 6, potentially Season 5 standards. Or they have looked like they have been more off the pace than the rest of the teams. Obviously, it doesn't help that they've obviously this season everything's being carried over from Season 7 to Season 8. And also another thing for them, we've got the new qualifying format this year, which means that there won't be any of that qualifying magic that we've seen in the past, like Oliver Turvey had in Santiago a few years ago. He stuck it into Superpole in a car that had a year-old powertrain. But it's going to be a lot harder for them to get anywhere close to the front of the field now. His new teammate is Dan Tictum, who unfortunately has only had 2 days of testing. Purely because he's racing in Jeddah this weekend for the penultimate round of the Formula 2 season. They've had Adam Carroll in today. He's done a full day of running and he actually set a time that was quicker than Dan Tictum did on the first 2 days. But then again, the further you get into the testing, and the car will go quicker, and so Adam Carroll set the time, I think, 7/10 quicker than Dan Tictum. However, he is having to juggle his Formula 2 commitments and coming here doing the Valencia test. I reckon he's going to have a very busy January where he's going to be in that simulator a fair bit. Speaking to Dan Tictum, their aim is that they've got to get 1 or 2 points finishes over the course of the season. That's what they got to aim for, just to try and then just build on that for Gen 3, which was announced this week. If you haven't seen it already, look on Twitter, it's probably there, it's probably on Google, you can Google it. So that looks interesting. So we'll have to see what happens with that. We're not going to see the Gen 3 car until spring next year is what I've heard. Potentially we might get it as early as Diriyah, but we'll probably see it around Rome-ish, so somewhere in that region. Dragon. Obviously, they made the news over a few weeks ago by announcing that they'd secured the services of Antonio Giovinazzi from Alfa Romeo. So he's had 2 days in the car, but like Dan Tictum, had to fly off to Jeddah, and so he hasn't had a third day in the car. However, whereas Neo replaced them with their reserve driver, Dragon didn't have anyone on hand, so they've basically missed an entire day of testing where they haven't used the car. So I'm not sure how much that's going to impact them, but it's certainly not good news for them, because they've lost a whole day of testing in one car. Sergio Seta Camera, he didn't actually set his fastest time today. All but 2 of them, it was him and Jake Dennis, who didn't set faster times today. Everyone else set faster times today. But yeah, Dragon, they're looking more or less on the same wavelengths as they were last season. So we'd have to see. Without the fluke podium that Nico Muller got here, it's going to be more or less like that, because obviously the rules have changed. We don't have the energy deductions anymore. We've got extra time instead, which is going to be exciting. They did a test race here on Tuesday, where basically they all lined up on the grid and did 45 minutes plus a lap. And right at the start of it, Mitch Evans stalled and didn't go anywhere. So Berlin flashbacks for him. Same with Sam Bird, but we'll get on to them a little bit later on. But yeah, Nissan. They didn't have the best of season last year. Oliver Rowland, who was their main man basically last season, because Seb Buemi had a shocker. He's now gone off to Mahindra, and they've signed Max Gunter. So basically, they've got a team of drivers who had not great seasons. They were constantly beaten by their teammates last season, so it's going to be interesting to see how that dynamic's going to go, because Max Günther, he needs to come in and basically wipe the floor with Buemi, vice versa as well. So it's going to be a very interesting team. They did not have a great test. Max Günther actually had a slower time than Sergio Sette Camara. He was 19th, a second off the fastest time. Sebastian Buemi only 16th. So Nissan looking quite slow yet again, unfortunately. So we'd have to see how that happens when it goes to the when we head to Diriyah. However, it's not looking good at this moment in time. Mahindra, the people who stole Oliver Rowland from Nissan, and actually Dilbagh Gill and Gregory Drio were in the same press conference on Tuesday, and Dilbagh actually apologised to Gregory for nicking his main driver, which was quite funny. But they're looking there or thereabout, more or less the same as they did last season. They could potentially snag a podium, a win here or there, but it's going to be an interesting one for them. And also, whereas Alex Lynn, he got that win in London, he was in Group 3 in qualifying. Again, no more qualifying like that. We'll get into that shortly, but yeah, that is their aim for this season. Few more podiums. If they can get into the duels in the qualifying, I think that'll be a good season for them. If they can make their way up the order, then yeah, that's brilliant. And then we come to Venturi, who, well, it was an open secret. We all knew that Lucas Di Grassi was going to Venturi. However, the speed that they have shown over this test is frightening. They genuinely look like that they could challenge the main Mercedes team, because obviously they run the powertrains of Mercedes, and also the DS Techeetahs, which have looked incredibly quick this weekend. Those have been probably the top 3 teams of this entire test. And so Venturi, who had their best ever season last year by coming 7th, what they could do next season is scary, and I can't wait to see what they do. But it's going to be a really, really exciting one. I genuinely think they could be dark horses for the title. Porsche, Wehrlein did a stunning lap in the last 5-10 minutes of today's session. It was genuinely brilliant. He put it into the top 5, which was fantastic for them. Lotterer, again, looking off the pace, he was only 15th in outright over the course of this test, which isn't ideal, but they look like they've got a package. I think it will be close between them and Mahindra in terms of where they're going to be in the pecking order as we get through this season. I think that's going to be a nice little fight to keep an eye on. The Envision Virgin cars. Both of them looking as quick as ever. Robin Freins actually sat a day out on Tuesday to let W Series runner-up and proud Oxonian, I need to put that in there, up the Oxford, Alice Powell had a go in the number 4 Envision car. I think I might have just called them Envision Virgin. They're not Virgin anymore. Virgin is gone, and it is just the Envision Racing team now. So it might be a good drinking game to see how many times that Jack Nicholls messes that up when we come to Diriyah. Not that I can have any, because we'll be in Diriyah. But yeah, both of them, they were 0.05 apart outright as well. Cassidy with a faster time, a 1:25.913. Freins a 1:25.918. That's how close it is. They were 7th and 8th, but they were 1.5 tenths off the quickest time, which was Edo Mortara. So yeah, as per usual, Formula E looking usually unpredictable. I don't think this qualifying format is going to change anything. We're still going to have this brilliant, unpredictable season coming ahead. Robin is delighted with the new qualifying format, actually, because he was in Group 1 for so much of last year. I'm not sure if it was from Diriyah onwards, but it certainly felt like once he got that second place in the second race in Diriyah, so it would have been when we headed to Rome. I reckon he was in Group 1 from Rome all the way to the end of the season. That because he was very consistent last year, but consistent is not what you wanted last year. You wanted to be a bit inconsistent so you could grab a win here and there. But he ended up 5th in the championship. He didn't win a race last year. They could very easily win a race this year. They are away from Venturi, Diaz-Techeetah and Mercedes. I'd say they are the 4th quickest team at the moment. Andretti. So obviously they've lost the BMW partnership from last season, and it's not like the pace has gone with BMW, but they didn't always look on the pace. When they did the test qualifying, I think both Jake and Ollie were 7th in their respective groups, and so it's not looking ideal. It looks like they're not going to be to the same extent that they have been the last few years, when Da Costa and Sims fought right at the front, when Gunter won a race in Santiago, and he won in New York last year, and Jake Dennis won 2 races last year. But it's looking like they could be there or thereabout. I think podium's extremely possible for the team this season. I think they're going to have an all-right season. Oliver Askew, by far and away the quickest rookie out of the 3 of them, but he is up against the Dragon and the Neo, so it makes sense. He was actually in the top 10 for part of today's running, which was really good. He did have a spin at the start of today, but recovered well. He's looking there or thereabouts. So Andretti, while I don't think they're going to have the same pace that they've had like the last few years, they can still do some good this season. Then we get to the big 3, Diaz-Techeetah. They are rapid. They're looking so good. It's looking like the Diaz-Techeetah of old, and it's not like we lost that last season. It's just that last year was a bit of a lottery, and so we never really saw the full potential of Diaz-Techeetah. It was between them and Mercedes for the top of the times. So it's looking like it will be one of them that starts the season incredibly well. As the season goes on, who knows? But obviously Mercedes are pulling the plugs. They may not develop as much as other teams, but they are looking very quick. Da Costa said in the press conference on Monday that he wants the title back. He's not here to make up the numbers. They're coming back. They're coming to win, and that's what we love to see, that fighting spirit. And I think it's going to be a great performance from the both of them this season. Jaguar. Now, if you think back to 12 months ago, they had a shocking test. They were so far off the pace, so much so, when we will not let him forget it, that Jack Jordmainer said Jaguar are going to have an awful season. They're not going to get anything in Diriyah. It's going to be a proper struggle for them. They then went to Diriyah and got a 3rd and a 1st, so we took the mickey out of him for the rest of the season, which was brilliant, and I'm sure we will do that even more in Season 8. Mitch Evans set a rapid lap time in the final 10 minutes of the session to put him P4 outright. It was just over a 10th off the quickest time by Edo Mortara. But yes, obviously, as we learnt from them last year, what happens on a permanent track may not correspond to what happens on a street circuit. So it's very much this test means nothing. But the thing is, Formula E is so unpredictable anyways that anything can kind of happen when we head to Diriyah with all these unknowns, even though that we've tested the new race format, the new qualifying format. And I will tell you how the new qualifying format works after we talk about Mercedes. Now, they have looked very quick. They won the test race that we did on Tuesday morning, so much so that it was actually a Mercedes 1, 2, 3, 4. Because of the Mercedes powertrains in the back of the Venturis, it was De Vries who won that from Mortara, and then it was Van Dorn and De Grassi. So, in their final season, Mercedes could have a very, very clear shot at this. It's going to be exciting as ever. They are looking extremely quick, and they could easily win in their swan song season because they are leaving at the end of this year. I've probably brought that up in the video already. My head's screwed. Like I've said so much stuff in the last 20 minutes or so that yeah, I will have forgotten something here and there, but that's all good. Right, those are the 11 teams. 11 teams. Didn't miss anyone out, did I? So, qualifying. Now, all of us going into this, it was a bit of a head scratcher in terms of how qualifying would work. However, now I've seen it played out, I feel like I can explain it to you. So, there are two groups of 11 drivers. They will go out, and the top 4 from each of them go through to the duels. That bit you should understand pretty easily. And then after that, so whoever finished first in the first group will face off the person who was 4th in the second group, and then second and third in each opposing group. I have got an article about this coming out over the weekend. It's sitting there. I've done it all. Just need someone to proofread it, and then it'll be up for all of you to see. But the duel is the interesting bit. So there will be the 4 duels between the 2 drivers. Currently, what they tried to do is they had the drivers come out in 5-second intervals. So the first driver would go, the red light would come back on for the second driver, wait another 5 seconds, and then they go again. Now, this was highlighted by Robin Frines in the press conference that happened about an hour or so ago. 5 seconds is too close, especially if it's wet, because the spray will come up, and that's basically qualifying done for you. You need to back off even more. And so he suggested 30 seconds. But yeah, obviously that's going to be an interesting thing to do. However, one thing that they have done is that when the 2 cars that are currently on the duel enter sector 3, they will release the next 2 cars from the end of pit lane. It means that we're not constantly just waiting like we did with Superpole, because they finished their lap, and then they decided to release the next car into the and so they were wasting about 30 to 45 seconds each time under the old qualifying format. The new one means that we do get more bang for our buck. Basically, we do get more action in that qualifying hour. And actually, I think these duels will work extremely well when it comes to Diriyah. It's looking like there will be some slight changes. The 2 groups. The rumour is that they're going to extend it from 10 minutes to 12 minutes. Aside from that, it will stay more or less the same. On the Monday when we tried it, one thing that they didn't do is they didn't go into the semi-final ones and then the final. What they did to make sure that everyone can get accustomed to the duel is they sent so basically 11 went up against 11, 10 up against 10, 9 up against 9, 8 up against 8, so on and so forth until he gets 1 against 1. And so we didn't have a full proper representation of what was really happening there. But it was good to see the qualifying in its form in person, because yeah, I think that this qualifying format's brilliant. And I haven't been able to speak to Sam Bird this week, but I'm sure he's quite proud with his creation, because apparently he was the one who said, right, let's do it like this and everything. Also, that is another point. Due to an admin error from yours truly, there aren't any interviews coming up onto the channel. However, we will rectify this issue and get interviews from when we head to Diriyah, which is the opening round of the season at the end of January. Yes, we're going to be on site. We're going to be on site for all of them. I'm going to be on site. I'm so excited. It's been such a brilliant week in Valencia. And so, yeah, roll on this season 8, because genuinely, we thought last year was unpredictable. Even though we've taken away the little nuances and everything that means that it should be less unpredictable, I reckon that we're still in for an absolute corker. Thanks for watching from Valencia. We will see you for the opening round at the end of January in Diria. All right.